There's some really disturbing news from across the U.S. that happened yesterday. Huffington Post explains here. Jewish facilities across the nation, around the nation, were rocked by yet another wave of bomb threats Monday, forcing evacuations in at least 13 states. At least 13 Jewish community centers and 7 day schools across the U.S. received threatening phone calls. So in total, there have now been 166 bomb threats made to over 60 Jewish community centers since January. So this is a very clear, very measurable uptick in anti-Semitic acts. And it's concerning, man. I think this is because the far right feels emboldened. Now, some people might directly blame Trump for this. I don't think I do that. But there's no denying a rise in the far right. And it's not just happening in the US, it's certainly happening in Europe. You know, you have in Greece, you know, they've been through a lot of economic strife and turmoil. And of course, the Golden Dawn Party became a viable party. You know, in France, the National Front Party, Marine Le Pen, they're a viable party now. These are parties that weren't considered viable, you know, previously. And in some instances, you have parties in some, you know, European nations that are kind of openly and outwardly sympathetic to neo-Nazism. And now here in the U.S., this is a daily occurrence now. I mean, this is happening more and more, that it's just continued and repeated threats to Jewish centers. And it's an uptick in all different forms of bigotry. There's also obviously an uptick in anti-Muslim acts. There was there was the horrific desecration of the Jewish cemetery recently. The Muslim American community rose up and raised over $100,000 to fix the desecrated Jewish cemetery. So that was a nice moment of solidarity and brotherhood in the midst of, you know, a horrific wave of hatred taking over the country, which was nice to see the standing together on that front. And I think we're going to have to do a lot more of that moving forward, because it doesn't look like it's going to stop with the policies that are being pushed. So there was the 7-nation ban that Trump did. There was still vibrant debate as to whether or not that constitutes a Muslim ban. Guys, Rudy Giuliani said, he let it slip on Fox News. He definitely wishes he could take it back. But he said, yeah, Trump called me when he took office and said, how do I do a Muslim ban legally? So what did he do? You pick out 7 Muslim-majority nations, mostly poor nations. We've bombed most of them, by the way. And you say, yeah, we're not allowing anybody in there. And in the original executive order, it said you have a preference and you favor Christians in coming in. So if you favor Christians and it's a Muslim-majority nations, I wonder if it's a Muslim ban. Of course it's a Muslim ban. But in reality, it's more just, you know, if you have that kind of skin tone, Middle Eastern skin, you know, South Asian skin, well, close enough. You could stay out. And that's what the attempt was. So it is an attempt to try to, I mean, the language is still on his website. I want a complete and total shutdown of Muslims coming to the U.S. So that is a flat out bigoted policy. I don't know how else one would categorize that when the idea is close enough. If you're Muslim, you're close enough to ISIS and Al-Qaeda that I'm going to keep you out. Well, hold on now, Don. What if it's a Shia Muslim who's a victim of Wahhabi terror? I don't care. Close enough. What if it's a moderate Sunni who's the victim of Wahhabi terror? I don't care. Close enough. What if it's an Ahmadiyya Muslim? You know, what if it's a Sufi Muslim? What if it's any of the branches of Islam that are clearly and explicitly nonviolent? And by the way, to be clear, most Sunnis are nonviolent too, of course. The Salafi ideology, the Wahhabi ideology, that's the problem. But he's saying, oh, you're all close enough. So that is the definition of bigotry. It's just, it's sad that this is, and when it comes to undocumented immigrants, very similar thing. You know, he said repeatedly on the campaign trail, kick out all undocumented immigrants. And now he's done an uptick in raids. Now, to be clear, under Obama, it was a record number of deportations. So he's not off the hook on this front by any stretch of the imagination. So, but under Obama, 90% of the deportations had people who were criminals. So, look, I guess I'm more moderate on that front. I'm fine with deporting criminals. With Trump, they changed the standard from criminals to criminals and people who were charged with a crime but not convicted, so they were found not guilty. Okay, and then they move the goalposts again, and there's deportations of kids, and we just learned the other day Trump was deporting somebody who had a brain tumor who was in the hospital, needed surgery. ICE picked him up and brought him back to the detention center. You might have just given somebody a death sentence. They don't care. So there's a move towards, we slid backwards. That's a better way of putting it. When it comes to tolerance and acceptance. And understand, this is, you guys know me, man. I'm an atheist. I disagree with religion. You're never going to shut me up about explaining why I think Judaism is wrong and Islam is wrong and Christianity is wrong. But I can disagree with religions and holy books, which I think are filled with nonsense, while also saying most religious people are good people who aren't going to hurt anybody. They're going to live a normal life and work hard and love their family. And they're good people and they shouldn't be discriminated against. You can do that. But no, we have in Trump's administration a crackdown on various communities here. And what I'm more concerned about than anything is not just the bigoted policies that we reference, an attempt to deport all undocumented immigrants and ban all Muslims and all that stuff, but also it is true that there's now this environment where you can sense it, that people feel like it's more socially acceptable now to just, come out and say, I hate the Jews or I hate the Muslims, and it's reflected. And it's going to be reflected in hate crime stats, and it's going to be reflected in all these horrific incidents that are happening across the nation. So I hope I don't have to come out here and report to you again about an uptick in anti-Jewish acts here, or anti-Muslim acts here, but buckle up, because that might be the case for at least the next 4 years or 8 years or so.